Hello and welcome to In Business Talks 2, a podcast about people who work together as a couple. Learn the secrets of business partnerships, the benefits and pitfalls of working together, be it husband and wife, father and son, mother and daughter, friends, relatives or any other combinations of business partnerships. As well as speaking with other couples, we'll let you know of any useful business apps and websites out there that our members have come across and shared with us in our regular weekly online meetings.
We are your hosts, Tracy and Ian Earle, founders of In Business, a networking and business support community. We host online and face-to-face events. We'd love to meet you, so why not come along? The link to book is in the show notes. Don't forget to check out our bonus episode too, which is called The Friday Fix. Our guests this week are Vicky, Kwenda and Paul Rosa. They are brother and sister behind R&D Consulting. They're helping innovative companies to save money on their research and development with R&D tax credits. So without further ado, let's crack on with In Business Talks 2. So welcome to our In Business podcast today. We have Vicky, Kwenda and Paul Rosa, who are a brother and sister combo. And it's lovely to have you guys with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Hello.
Thanks for coming along. Yes, great to see you. So let's start off then by asking you, and can you tell us a little bit about what you guys do?
Yes, so we help companies understand whether they're eligible to claim research and development tax relief or not. And if they are, we help them pull together what they need to make a claim for R&D tax relief.
Right.
Okay.
Excellent.
So that sounds simple.
Sounds good as well.
And it sounds excellent.
Yeah, sounds good for people who want to have tax relief as well. Yeah. Yeah, brilliant.
And how long have you been in the business together?
So the company started in 2012, but Paul's been in this industry far longer than I have.
So yeah, I started the company in 2012. I previously worked for a large accountancy firm. So one of the things I noticed when I started the business was it was suddenly just me doing everything. There was no one there to check anything. And because we write a lot of reports for clients, it was important that we had some sort of QA process so that I'd write something and have somebody check it. So Vic had a job elsewhere at the time. So I asked her if she wanted to do this QA thing for me because Vic's got a degree in English. So her English is much better than mine. So typically I'd write reports, send them to her. She'd check them in weekends and nights and whatever. Then the company got to a stage where we were making enough money to actually employ people. So I said to Vic, well, do you want to come and work for us full-time rather than just doing part-time? And she said yes. Whether that was a good idea or not, I still to decide. But,
brilliant. and Vicky, were you comfortable with that? What were your thoughts? Do you think, oh no, what am I doing here? I'm dreading this. What's going to be happening here? Or
I was on maternity leave and I think I'd just gone back to work. And then when Paul said, why don't you come in with the company? And the flexibility to work from home, to work my own hours, that was very appealing. So I jumped at the chance really. And then when I started the role, I thought this isn't a full-time role. But we easily found a lot more to fill my time and more. So
as brothers do, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, I think it was just about us. We had to decide on the hop really who does what needs doing, what more we can do now we've got double the capacity, and figuring out how we work together, which just was organic. I think really we learned early on that Paul's very good at thinking on his feet and coming up with ideas, and I'm much more think about it, put some procedures in place, make sure it all works. And by the time I've done that, he's off on some other idea and some adventure.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
We find that with a lot of couples that we talk to. Yeah, one's always sort of
the blue sky
thinker.
Yeah, that's the right word. Yeah.
It works really well for us because I would never ever make a decision. I want to look at everything. I want to look at all the angles, whereas Paul makes a decision straight away. And so I think we meet in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
And complement each other.
That's good.
Yeah, no, it's good.
So you found those roles quite quickly.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. And
what's your sort of goal for the business then? I mean, what's your ambition? Are you going to become a large multinational organisation, or is it more of a lifestyle business?
More a lifestyle business. It's more of it gives us a very nice lifestyle. We get to work the hours we want. We recently moved to a 4-day week, which is lovely. So it's very much around the lifestyle. Obviously, selling at some point in the future might be an option, but at the moment it's running quite well. So just keeping it as it is and enjoying it.
Yeah, I think if we both wanted to work a 12-hour day, go networking all the time. We could, but we decided we don't want to sort of really, really push the business to grow very big very quickly, because we don't want to work a 12-hour day. We want to have a day off a week. We want to pick the kids up from school.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. And if you've got, you earn enough money to do that, then to do the things that you want to do, then why do you need to?
And not everyone wants to be a Richard Branson, does he, and everything else. And you lose so much out of your life when you do that, don't you? You miss on so many things, like the kids growing up and things like that. So it makes sense to you. Yeah.
Maybe in the next company we'll do something like that. But don't know.
So do you find that you hold each other to account?
To a certain degree, I suppose. I don't know if it's holding each other to account, but there's things we need to do that we get done. That if I was on my own, I'd probably not get done, because I'd think I'll do that later, then just not get around to doing them. My to-do list as a rule, if something's on my to-do list for more than 3 months, I just drop it off because I'm not going to do it. You have sort of intention thing, I'll do that later, and you keep putting it off. Just get rid of it. Just drop it off your list.
It never happens, does it? No, it never happens.
I think it's more me keeping Paul on track. I will remind him. I'll say, 2 months ago you had an idea. Do you want to do anything with that or not? And then he'll say yes or no. Paul's the ultimate boss, but I will organise him, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that's... Yeah, just remember that he had this flyaway thought, and remind him to think about it a bit more at some point.
Sounds like your Jiminy Cricket on your shoulder, Paul. So have you found that being in business together has strengthened your relationship? I mean, were you quite close as children?
Yeah, we were quite close before we started the business, and I think that helped. There's some members of my family that I couldn't work with. I know them too well to know it wouldn't work, but Vic, we work quite well together. We lived together for a while, so we're quite close anyway. We talk more now because obviously we talk about the business quite regularly, probably daily. Chat about what's going on, and that will bleed into family and other stuff. So,
yeah. And what happens in sort of like when you get to family events? Do you two drift off and start talking about business, and does the rest of the family think, "Oh, here they go again," or do you keep that separate in your lives?
I think we can talk about work, but there's normally children around, and Paul's got a 4-year-old and I've got a 5-year-old. So you never get to have a long-winded conversation ever, because someone's chasing a child across the room. But no, I think we would keep it on track. I think we do realise that not everybody wants to hear the business stuff, and it's not always appropriate to talk about certain things in front of other people. So,
of course.
Have you got any other siblings?
Brother, but I couldn't work with him full time. He's too. He just
it's much easier with his sister.
Yeah. We complement each other, whereas me and David would fight too much and just not get on.
That's it. Yeah, you can't have two of the same type of person in a business, because nothing will get done.
Exactly.
So,
if one of you's having a bad day, does the other one sort of like chiver the other along a bit and say, "Come on, it's not that bad. We can do this. We can." Do you sort of like?
Or do you just leave each other to it?
Or do you just leave each other's account? What is it that you do?
Paul's very good about digging you out of a hole when you sort of think, "Oh, everything's going wrong. This is awful. That's awful." Paul and I often chat, and he'll give me other ways of looking at things, which normally perks me up a bit.
Right, because it's good sometimes to have somebody to do that. I think because we all have moments, don't we? When we're on a downer, we're a bit the same. If one of us gets on a bit of a downer, we think, "Well, come on, it's not that bad. We can do this. We can do that." And I think you need that. Like you say, I think working on your own, if there's nobody to do that, then it's difficult.
Absolutely, you can spiral downwards very quickly if you're on your own, because there's no one to say actually. Also, it's having another viewpoint, because I might have an idea and think, "Oh, we can do this." And then I'll ask Vicky, and she'll go, "Well, have you thought about these things, or sort of the sort of other angles, which I might not have thought about, or may have thought about already, but sometimes I haven't."
So, what are the highs of work? I'll ask you, Vicky. What are the highs of working with your brother? What's the best thing?
So it is nice that. So, for example, Paul rang me this morning to talk about work stuff, and we quite quickly got onto problems I was having with my son and his behaviour. And just being able to switch between work and other problems. It's not really gossiping, because it really is something that was weighing on my mind, that we talked about it for 4 or 5 minutes, and then Paul made me feel a lot better about that, and that helped me refocus on the work stuff. So it's nice to have someone who knows a lot of what's happening, and I don't have to filter what I say, because even when you're working with other people, no matter how close you are, you still have to filter your responses. And then I think also I can argue with him more than I would someone I wasn't related to. If Paul has an idea that I'm not keen on, or if I think he's being unfair about something, I will tell him. And he will accept that. Whereas I don't think I've ever had that in any other kind of business relationship where I could really say, look, I don't think that's what we should do. I think it's a stupid idea.
Yeah.
And then are you quickly back on track after that? You know, you don't sort of hold grudges.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it sorts out problems because we might be talking at cross purposes. And with somebody else, I might not feel confident enough to say, I don't think you've really understood what I'm saying. But then we'll maybe have a 2-minute argument and realise that we were saying the same thing in the first place anyway.
Yeah. And do you think that makes it easier? And do you think that's an advantage of working with a brother or a whatever?
Definitely.
With family, simply because you can have those conversations where you're not going to upset someone. You know, it's going to be taken as it means, you know, as it's meant.
Yeah, I think definitely.
Yeah. And what about Paul? Paul? What are the highs working with you?
I'd agree. You can be more, I suppose, honest. If you think it's a terrible idea, you go, it's a terrible idea. We're not doing that. Or you can be. Whereas I'm autistic, so I tend to have that anyway. Even when I've worked for other people, if someone asks me a question, I don't answer honestly, regardless of whether I thought they'd take it the wrong way. Whereas with Vic, I don't have to really think about that because I think, well, even if she disagrees with me, we'll have an argument, but it will get resolved really quickly, and we'll either decide we're doing it or not. So yeah, there are a lot of also trust, absolute trust, where you can just say, well, here's the bank account. I don't think I have a bank card because the only bank card and access to all the accounts, because I know she won't go in there and just drain the accounts and disappear. So there's that sort of trust level that you have that you can trust them implicitly. Which helps.
Yeah, and I think that's important as well. Yeah, and that comes across with a lot of other people that we've interviewed. With family people say, look, there's trust there. It is different, you know, and you know where to live, of course. You
can't go again.
But yeah, there's a trust there, definitely.
You also get, obviously, you know them better than anybody else, or pretty much anybody else. So when you actually employ them, you know day one exactly what they're like. When you employ someone outside of the family, you don't know what they're like. They'll tell you, they'll interview very well potentially and say all the right things, but as you start working with them, you don't really find out the nuances of what their character is, whether they're trustworthy, whether they're going to work hard, all the other kind of sort of things around their character.
Yeah, no, you don't. You know, that is, at least if you've grown up with them, you know exactly what you know. You know what you're getting, don't you? You know exactly what you're getting. Yeah, of course. Yeah. You know the mood swings and everything else, don't you? Yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
Vic doesn't really get those, so that's good.
Okay.
I do a bit, but you're pretty good.
now we've done the nice bit. I'm going to ask you, and this is again to each of you. So I'll ladies first, Vicky first. So, what is Paul's most annoying work habit? That gets under your skin.
Ooh.
If he doesn't have any, you don't have to think of one.
Oh no, I'm sure there are.
We'll give you a long
thing.
You can come up with some.
I think possibly the most annoying thing would be that when Paul started the business, it was just him. Now it's him, it's me. We've got other staff. We've got a lot of procedures in place. Paul doesn't follow those procedures all the time. But to be fair, if it was that annoying, we could work on it. I've not really mentioned to him that it's not a big problem, but it is sometimes you think, oh, I know why I wasn't aware of that because Paul did it. But it's never been a big problem. And if it was, we would talk about it, and I think he would follow the procedures. If he felt.
And same question to you, Paul. What is Vicky's most annoying habit at work?
It's tough. It's probably, as Vic mentioned before, the needing to spend a long time before she make a decision. She needs a lot of information. She wants to go through all the things. It will take a long time for her to say yes or no to something. Whereas I'm much more, okay, I can just say yes or no quite quickly. And sometimes that can be a little bit frustrating when you're thinking, well, just say yes or no, just make a decision. And even if it's wrong, you can adjust later, but just say yes and just get on with it. And then we'll go from there. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just something that sometimes is a bit frustrating.
Paul works a lot faster than I do. His brain just processes things a lot quicker. And I think it must be frustrating to be dragged down to my
level. I'm not choosing new pens. I took a long time on because that's important to me. But something like too fast, yeah. Again, it's quite a nice balance. If Vic was more like me and making decisions all the time, we'd probably be bankrupt by now because we'd just be doing crazy things and nothing actually ever get done.
Oh, so Vicky's obviously the the one who keeps her eye on the budget.
I keep an eye on
and
it
the
as well.
finances.
But it's more the day-to-day running operations, making sure things get done. Vic does all of that.
Yeah, I'm much more day-to-day. Let's follow the procedures. This isn't working. We need a new procedure. In terms of should we grow the business, what do we need, forecasting for the next 6 months, have we got enough money to keep running? That is all Paul.
Right.
He's got a lot more business experience than I do.
Yeah.
And a much better understanding.
So going back to the roles then, just briefly, you sort of gravitated towards I suppose the roles that you were both good at. But what are your roles?
So my technical job title is operations director, and Paul doesn't take in the day-to-day stuff, keeping an eye on things, whatever. He doesn't take as much of a role. I keep things ticking along, and then Paul will come along and say, this isn't working, or this could work better. We need a new procedure. But it will be up to me probably to make that new procedure and decide how that's going to work in the real world. Paul is much more about concepts, and I think I'm much more about turning that concept into something. In terms of marketing and things, though, we do a bit of everything. I think when you're a one-man band, you have many caps, and Paul and I, marketing, HR, do together.
Is that same with the sales as well? From the sales point of view, how do you act?
A lot of it is word of mouth. It's relationships with accountants who pass us client work quite regularly, existing clients. We do have a business development person at the moment who reports to Vic, who's out doing networking and that kind of thing, because that's where most of our new stuff comes from. Historically, though, we've got relationships with other companies who pass us work, and that works quite well. We get quite a lot of referrals through that. Don't tend to do a lot of marketing, sort of media and that kind of stuff. We on social media quite a lot. But typically, yeah, it's quite organic, I think, the way that sort of work side of the business has grown.
Yeah. And what's one of the biggest highs that you've had working together? Have you had something that sort of stands out as a really great moment? Wow, this went really well. We did this, whatever, as a team.
Or perhaps the biggest help that you've given somebody, you know.
Kind of Vegas was quite good. That was quite. Yeah, we went to Las Vegas for a coaching event. And that was really good. We spent a week.
Right.
Yeah. That was really good. Enjoyed that.
Scottsdale as well, same event the following year.
Yeah.
And then where else did we go?
Went to Phoenix. Went to Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been to quite a few.
So, yeah, that was really nice because it gave us time away. The coaching was excellent. Then also just having 3 or 4 days locked in a hotel together. We talked about marketing and all the stuff you put off for the rest of the year because you're doing your day-to-day stuff. Really, really helpful.
Yeah.
And what sort of coaching was it? Was it just general business coaching? Was it specialist coaching?
It was to start with. There was an event run by Scott McCain, Larry Wingett, Joe Calloway, Mark Sanborn, and Randy Pennington, and that was them on a stage talking about general business coaching concepts and that kind of thing to a room full of people. We then joined their intensive program where it was about 15 of us in a room. That was much more focused. So they talk about sort of what problems we were currently having, what issues, where do we need help, and so that was much more focused on us. And that was really good. We did that for 3 years, I think, Vic. So we were in the States quite often doing that. And then obviously there was Facebook Lives and stuff as well. So yeah, it was really, really good. It was very, very good.
And each of the coaches focused on a different thing. Yeah. You had one that was all about organizational change. One was all about accountability. One was all about marketing and how you present yourselves. Well, it was creating your distinction.
Yeah.
And it was really good being such a small room and really work through those concepts and how they work for your business.
They were also, one of the guys is Scott McCain, who's New York Times bestseller and works for lots of big companies like Microsoft. He was writing a book at the time called Iconic. And so we were talking to him about the concepts that would be in the book, and he was streamlining the book content based on what we were giving him feedback on. So that was quite interesting.
Right.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, good. Okay. And if you could do this all again, would you?
Yeah, if we put you in a time machine and took you back to
would you do it all
again? Do it again?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
I think there'd be some things we'd change in hindsight,
some bits,
some sort of mistakes we made along the way, but yeah, definitely do it again.
The alternative would be work for somebody else again, and I don't really want to do that. So
no. Funnily enough, not many do they? Once you're in your own business, that's it. Once you've bitten the bullet, it's not something you want to do if you can avoid it.
I was commuting up to London every day before this, and now I walk 20 minutes to work.
Yeah, likewise.
So much better.
Yeah, life's much better then, isn't it? Really, when it is a lifestyle business, isn't it? When if you can do that. What tip or advice would you give to someone thinking of going into business with their partner, relative of whatever it might be, brother, sister, mother, father, whatever it might. What would you suggest? What have you learned?
I think our situation is very different from others because Paul lives in Suffolk and I live in Croydon. If I don't know if this would have worked so well together if we were in each other's pockets inside of work and outside of work, or if we were working in the same office, because we only speak to each other when we need to speak to each other, which is quite a lot. I think we've got a big divide between work and home life, and even at work sometimes I go days without speaking to Paul, whereas if he was sat in an office with me, we could drive each other crazy. So I think it's really think about the setup, how it could affect you, which is all stuff we didn't even think about to start off with. And I think we were just lucky that it's worked out the way it has. But yeah, I think it might be very, very different if we had a different setup. So really think about whether you can cope spending that much time with someone.
I'd say make sure there's a few things. One is make sure you get on with the person first. Because if your partner or your family, great, you get on at that level. Could you actually work with them? Could you actually work? And often it's one person in charge of the other. How would that change the dynamic of your relationship? Potentially, and also the lines can get blurred. If you're living with somebody and working with somebody all the time, you're going to find it very hard to distinguish between work and home life. You'll find yourself talking about work at midnight. So make sure you carve out some time to spend together, not anything to do with work, just on your own to go and do something fun.
Yeah, we've got that T-shirt, haven't we? We can easily drift into talking about work. You know, I can be watching something on TV, and you'll decide to tell me something about. I'm thinking, I'm trying to watch this. I'm trying to watch this here. So you're right. You're dead right there. It can be a bit tricky, can't it? Yeah.
I think it's important what Paul said about one person being in charge as well, because I think that could cause a lot of problems for some couples. But Paul's my older brother, so it was very natural that he was the one. Well, he started the company, so he would be the one in charge. Yeah. But I never had a problem with that, with him being my boss, because he's always been my big brother. So that again, it's quite natural for us and not a problem. But I think that could create a lot of problems in relationships when one is always the final.
Yeah, I must admit, I've heard of there was a business thing several years ago. It was two brothers who started a business together and grew quite a big business together. And it all went terribly wrong. And one of the brothers, would you believe, when you talk about trust, sort of ran off with all the money and everything else and left his other brother. And of course, I think they never spoke after that and things like that. But it went really sour. But you're right. You've got to really know your brother or your sister, haven't you? I think as well. You've got to know what their values are and everything. But
if you're a couple, obviously you've also got to look at, if you're a couple, what happens if you split up? Because you're not only just splitting up a relationship, you're also splitting up a business, which if you're both 50% shareholders is really hard. So have some sort of agreement in place to say, if we split up, here's what will happen to the business, who'll get what. Make sure you don't want to think about it from day one, but it's really important to get that in place.
Yeah, we need to do that then.
We better
think about it, love.
You won't have to split from me then, will you? You'll have to stick with me now.
That's great. And if people want to get in touch with you to find out if they're eligible for tax credits, what's the best way that they can do that?
So they can email us info@rndconsulting.co.uk. Our website's the same, www.rndconsulting.co.uk.
And are you guys both on LinkedIn as well?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah,
okay.
Great stuff. Lovely. We'll put the links in the show notes anyway, because I think you've sent them to us today, didn't you, Vicky? And it's been really good chatting to you.
Thank you. It's been really good. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. About the dynamics between brother and sister.
Yeah.
I haven't got a brother, you see, and you haven't. You haven't got a brother.
No, I've got a sister. Yeah.
But I haven't got a brother, so it's interesting to hear that dynamic.
And I get on well with my sister as well, actually, just like you two. So it's not. Yeah, it's nice.
I always wanted a big brother, and I never got one.
Well,
Never mind. Anyway, right.
But thank you for your time. It's been really nice to meet you guys and chat to you. And
thank you. Likewise.
And thank you very much.
Awesome. Have a good day.
Thank you.
So, yes, you too.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. Take care. Bye-bye.
So, Tracy, what's our knowledge share for this week?
Well, we've got a good one this week. It's called fakespot.com, and it's for spotting and avoiding shady sellers, shady products, or dishonest reviews, scam websites, and it's free with Chrome, Firefox, iOS and Android.
Wow, sounds like a great share there. Get in touch and let us know if you try it and what you think.
Please do. We're almost at the end of this week's show, but as a reminder before we go, don't forget to book your place at one of our online networking events where you can meet some great business owners and build those business relationships. We believe the best business comes from the best relationships. The link is in the show notes.
We'd also like to mention our books, which are available on Amazon. The first one is How to Improve Your Business Networking Skills, and you'll find 52 tips in there to help you with all your networking. We also have our Notably Networking one-to-one networking notebook, and this is a place where you can keep all your notes from all those follow-up one-to-ones that you have. And last but not least, we have our 90 Days to Your Success journal, where you can plan, set and plot the actions you will take to achieve your goals.
So thank you so much for joining us this week on In Business Talks 2. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, all that we ask is that you simply tell a friend about the show, and please follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd really appreciate it. So until next time, this is Ian and Tracy, and together
we are in business.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.